All right, everyone, welcome. I'm just admitting everyone. Like I said, if you have a friend that can't get in, and it's because probably they haven't displayed their name in their username, we're only admitting just for privacy reasons, obviously. Just people that are displaying their name. We don't want anonymous users in. But welcome. Let me just get the rest of everybody in here. I know you guys have been patiently waiting. All right. So welcome. This is the third Tecumseh Talk series. It's taken us to the third one for myself to get some love for the goalkeepers. So I apologize for that. I should do a better job fighting for us. And we're very excited. We have also who's going to be leading the conversation is going to be our director of soccer, Peter Langens, and we're extremely excited to welcome from Sporting KC, Mitch Hildebrandt. He's got very, very close ties and connections to Michigan. He's as we sent out in his bio, he's played pro in Michigan. Then he was with FC Cincinnati. Then he was down with Atlanta, won an MLS Cup down there, and then now he's the goalkeeping coach with Sporting KC too, and works with both the keepers from academy all the way to first team, helps bridge that gap for the pro. So Mitch, welcome, and thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm super happy to be here.
Right. Yeah. Mitch and myself are going back probably 15 years ago, Mitch. Like when Mitch was 13, 14 years old. Like he played for Coach Doll and myself at the Michigan Wolves. That's kind of like where I knew Mitch from, and we're kind of keeping contact like over his playing career a little bit when we had time or there. Right? We're really excited to have him on board, to have a little talk with our goalkeepers and our guests from other clubs in Windsor and even from Ontario Soccer. Matt Ferreira, welcome. And we're trying to help our goalkeepers. A lot of times it's like you're being pushed in a corner, but like we want to make sure we're having give enough love to our goalkeepers in our clubs and other clubs too, right? Like Mitch will talk a little bit about his playing career, like what he's doing now as a goalkeeper coach, his role at Kansas City. Then he will talk a little bit about the philosophy of goalkeeping, a little bit about goalkeeping training, what goalkeepers can do in this time, and then we will have question and answers on the end. There's any questions you come up with during the session, please make sure you put them on the chat, and then on the end, Ryan or myself will be make sure we're sending the questions to Mitch that he can answer your questions. Mitch, the floor is all yours. Go ahead, man.
Thanks, Pete. Appreciate it, man. It's been we've known each other for a long time, so it's good to kind of reconnect on this forum. We're in crazy times right now when we have to kind of do stuff like this, but it gives us a unique opportunity to kind of connect with maybe people that we couldn't before. We all got some time on our hands, so it's good to talk and to do things like this. Like Peter said, I just started my playing career last year. At the end of 2018 in Atlanta, we won the MLS Cup, which was obviously a very unique and exciting year for me and my wife. She's kind of been along for the journey, so dragged her around. Before that, I was in Cincinnati, 2 really good years, the start of that club. Unique opportunity there, actually starting a club from brand new, from scratch. And then before that, I played for 4 years in Minnesota, right before they became an MLS team. So I kind of helped 2 teams get to the MLS, and then finally got my opportunity to play in the league as well. So, very unique opportunity. I played at every single level of U.S. soccer, from like Peter said, with the Wolves, all the way through. Played with the Michigan Bucks in the PDL. Played at Oakland University. I think there's probably some London people out there, Toronto people that I've played against, but the journey has kind of taken me around, and I don't think that I would change anything about it, because I had to fight for everything that I got. I wasn't drafted out of college. I had to go on trial. I had to sit as a backup for 4 years, before I finally got an opportunity to play. And I think that's when you're talking about my playing career and kind of the advice or anything that I could give to young kids, it would be just stay the course. If I played 18 games in 4 years, and a professional schedule, you play somewhere close to 40, per year. And I played 18 games in 4 years, and it would have been very easy to quit or stop. And I wasn't getting paid a lot. Back 6-7 years ago, entry level guys were not getting paid as much as they are now, which is good. So it was tough, but I knew that it was something that I wanted to accomplish. So I wasn't going to stop, and so I kept going, and it finally got me to an MLS Cup. And I tell people that I just retire on top. I just win a championship and it's over. But no, it's when it comes to kind of my playing career, I learned a lot off the field as much as I did on the field, about perseverance, about pushing through, about if things don't go your way, sometimes it opens up a bigger and better door. And when I get the unique opportunity to talk to kids, I like to tell them that just because something maybe doesn't go your way, or rejection, or even failure. Everybody fails. Failure is not a bad thing. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to grow. And it's an opportunity to step through a door that you may have not known existed. And, for me, when I was with the Wolves with Peter, I thought that I was going to go to Michigan and Michigan State and all these big schools. And I ended up going to Oakland University, which in hindsight was the best opportunity and the best thing that ever could have happened. I learned, I'm sure a lot of you guys know Eric Pogue, the coach there. He developed 2 pro goalkeepers right in a row. Steve Clark is still playing in Portland. He was the guy there before me. So I got to learn the game, sit behind him, and really kind of hone my skills before I got an opportunity. And then, I thought I was going to be drafted, didn't get drafted, so I had to fight through that. And then, I thought I was going to go to the MLS, and that didn't happen. So I think just staying the course, I always knew that I was going to be a professional soccer player, and nothing was going to take my dream or my goal away. So, when Peter said maybe talk about some training things, this is a unique opportunity for you guys to go out and kind of just get stuff done. Just go and do it. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter how you're doing it. It's just about doing it. I had to do a lot of stuff on my own, without quarantine life. It's just kind of my everyday, just trying to make it as a pro soccer player. Going out and going for runs, or doing an extra workout, or getting touches on the ball, or you guys being goalkeepers, I've noticed with young goalkeepers is that you have so much goalkeeping and so many goalkeeping coaches that are provided to you that sometimes you might lose your athletic ability, and I don't mean that you're not athletic. What I mean is we're starting to see kids that are so goalkeeping specific that they maybe lose that nature of just improvising, just going out there and playing. So I encourage you guys to go and throw a football, with your brother or sister or your parents, or play volleyball, or go shoot hoops in the backyard. I mean, it doesn't have to be just soccer. It's just about doing something. And obviously this time is unique for everybody. But one thing that we're telling our guys through our academy is just do something. They have scheduled workouts, which I know I was talking to Ryan and Peter, and you guys have that too. But it's, you have so much time on your hands that, why not go and do something else? So it brings a unique opportunity that you guys have so much content at your fingertips that we didn't have when we were kids. And I mean, I'm only 31 years old, but I'm dating myself here. We couldn't watch soccer. I mean, Peter remembers, maybe there was one game or something on TV here in the States. You couldn't watch soccer. And you guys have games upon games upon games. You guys can get onto ESPN and watch a game. You guys can get on YouTube and watch a game, old games. And it doesn't even have to be Manchester United versus Real Madrid. It doesn't have to be a big game. Go and watch smaller games, smaller leagues. Go and watch the USL. Though all those games are on ESPN. Those are guys trying to make it, guys honing their skills. You don't have to watch Cristiano Ronaldo. And the thing that I would express during that time is learn the game. It took me a very long time to really learn soccer. I did not know the game of soccer nearly as much as I think that I should have with how much I played. I could probably break down a tactical analysis for the first time, maybe 3 or 4 years of being a pro. I mean, I couldn't, a lot of times in college when we were doing video and stuff, I had no clue what they were talking about. I just knew that I stood in the goal and people shot soccer balls at me and I tried to stop it. And for you guys having all this information at your fingertips, it's such a great time for you to learn the game. All you guys are sitting at home right now on a webinar, listening to some guy that you don't know talk about soccer. And that means that you truly have a passion and a love for the game. And I know that there's coaches and things out there as well. But, I see a lot of kids and, you guys love the game of soccer, which is fantastic. To see youth kids coming through and really having a passion where they'll sit on a computer and listen to a talk about soccer. And I think for you to learn the game in a way where you go to practice in hopefully next month or 2 months, whenever we can get back outside, and really understand what your coaches are talking about. And then on the flip side, I know that we got some coaches out there as well. And I think my message to you is the same thing that I went into this unique situation with, is that I'm going to learn the game more than I probably know from a different angle. There's so many ways to play soccer, and there's so many ways to do things that no one person has the right formula. They don't. I mean, yeah, everybody thinks, Pep and all, Jose and all these guys are fantastic managers. Well, they are, but they don't win every single year. And they're always learning. They're always adapting. If you guys follow Pep Guardiola, he had a great quote, said that the hardest thing that he had to do was go to England. Even though he was getting the best team in the world, it was the hardest thing that he ever had to do, because he had to learn in a completely different style of play. The style of play that he played in Barcelona and Bayern Munich was not going to work. Everybody thinks it's the same, but it's not. He didn't know how to high press. He didn't know how to deal with the high press. That's not a thing in Spain. It's not. And for them to change the way that they deal with long balls, they don't send long balls. And so for him to continue, he won La Liga, he won Bundesliga. For him to continue to learn a different style of the game is a testament to the passion that I think we all have inside of us, which is why we're doing things like this, like these webinars, like going out and talking to each other, like we're running Zoom sessions. And the more tools you have in your toolbox, the more successful you'll be. And that's why, we're watching numerous different types of games. People will like this. We sent out an Ajax game to all of our goalkeepers. I think next week we're sending out an Ajax game because in Kansas City we play a very unique style. Our goalkeepers, we stress very, very highly to be good on the ball. If you're not good on the ball, you're not going to play for Sporting Kansas City. And the goalkeeper in Ajax right now, young kid, very bright future, is probably one of the best in the world at it. So we're not just sending him household names, De Gea, all these guys. Obviously, we know that those guys can play, and our guys know who they are, but we're sending them different types of games. Not a lot of teams play like Ajax. Not a lot of teams play like PSV Eindhoven because, you don't get to watch those games. So we're breaking out of our shell, and we're kind of making our kids do it, and we're getting some good feedback on it. And so that kind of goes into my role in Kansas City. You guys heard my playing career, but once I was done playing, I kind of took a time off. I didn't want anything to do with soccer. Did soccer for 27 years of my life, and once I was done playing, I kind of didn't think that there was much in it. I didn't want to be a coach at that time. I just wanted to play, and once my playing time was done, I wanted nothing to do with it. I didn't watch games on TV, didn't do anything. So I was just sitting at home, and then Lars Richters, who's the current academy director with the Wolves, knew that I was back in Michigan and asked me if I could come out and help out. And that's when I realized that it's not that I didn't want to coach, it's that during my playing career, I didn't have the mindset to be a coach, which I look back at now, for all the players out there. I look back and I wish I would have had the mindset as a coach, because I would have been a lot more tactically smart. I would have obviously known the game better, but I would have seen the game in a different light than just being a player, just enjoying to play the game. Now when I watch a game, I watch it to enjoy the game. I see the nuances, the little details. Back when I was playing, I watched the game because I figured that's what I had to do. You play soccer and you watch soccer. And my wife actually, she used to make fun of me because I would go to training, I'd come back and watch soccer, and I thought I was just watching the game, but she thought I was working because I just kind of sat there and watched soccer with malintent. There was nothing behind it. Now you watch a game and you really understand it. And so I started coaching, and I realized that I did love the game, and I had to be back in it. So the opportunity, I was doing some scouting work for the Chicago Fire, kind of on the side, where I was looking at player transfers, mostly international stuff, guys that we were looking to bring in. And then the opportunity from Sporting came, and they said, would you want to talk about a job with Sporting Kansas City? And, it's kind of one of those clubs that does it right, and they do it very, very well. And so I talked, and I ended up taking the job, moving out to Kansas City. And, it's kind of sad that the first season kind of got on a delay because of what's going on. But there's a lot more important things going on in the world than soccer right now. But my role with the club, yes, I'm the second team goalkeeper coach, but I do help out with the first team guys. So Tim Melia, Richard Sanchez, John Polskamp, our three first team guys. We also have an academy guy who's signed to a first team contract, but he plays with us on the second team. We also have another first team guy, which we loaned out to Arizona, to Phoenix, so he can get games. And so I help out with them. I have my guys, and then I also help not run, but I kind of oversee the developmental academy, which we run from 12s through our 19s. And with our club, it's really exciting because we really use it as a pro pipeline. And when I say that is that we really invest in our goalkeepers at a young age and try to mold them into somebody that we see playing for our first team. We're not financially going to be able to go and pay millions and millions of dollars for a goalkeeper, which I don't mind, because we can work with these kids and make them Sporting Kansas City goalkeepers from a very young age. And when I'm saying young age, we have one goalkeeper from our U12s through our U19s that's actually from Kansas. So we have kids that move across the country. We have a couple of guys from California, a couple from North Carolina. We brought in a couple from Michigan, a kid from Nebraska. So we really go, internationally, domestically, and we try to bring in the best that we have. And then that way we can make them into Sporting Kansas City goalkeepers, because like I said earlier, we play a very unique style, all the way from how we press to how we play out of the back, and just to our general how we want our goalkeepers to be. We have a long list: physical, tactical, mental, emotional. We have a checklist of things that we want, and we kind of look for this at every age. So I'm sure at one of your guys' games or something, we've probably seen a couple of you guys play, but that's kind of my role with the club and I've also taken on more of our scouting within the college level. So we're watching a lot of college kids, because with our second team, we do have the ability to bring in maybe a college kid to see if he pans out. Right now, we brought in a kid from California who was drafted by Columbus, was released. So we got the benefit of picking him up, and maybe or not, we'll see what happens. But we have a lot of tools at our disposal, and our ownership and our head coach, Peter Vermees, who's been with the club for a very long time. We rate development very high, more than just going to buy players. So, we're emphasizing that with our young kids right now, because if they want to be pros, and this goes for you guys too, I'm sure that every single one of you, if I asked you who wants to be a pro, everybody would raise their hand. But you can know who's going to be a pro on who's doing things right now, when no one's watching, when no one's giving you anything to do besides 1 hour a day maybe. And those are the people that are going to succeed, whether it's in soccer or not. It's about doing things when the lights aren't on, as they say. Am I going to watch a game today? Am I going to go out and pass the ball with my brother or whatever? So those are kind of the things that we're doing now. And there's not many things physically that we can do with our goalkeepers, besides just, staying active, doing things like that. So we're really pushing the mental side, and I've done a couple of these in the past couple of weeks, and I would say the same thing to you, is use this opportunity as a unique chance to really hone your mental game, because it's easy to get back fit, or, your hands to come back. They'll come back pretty quick, but to learn the game and to do the things like that are important. And then I think the last thing, Peter, kind of you asked, was my philosophy on goalkeeping. My philosophy for goalkeeping is clean, sharp, decisive. So when I say clean, sharp, and decisive, every action that you do has to be decisive. There's no looking back in goalkeeping, right? So if a cross comes in and I think about going and then I don't go, I'm already late to try to make that second save. If I go, maybe I get it, maybe I don't. But I have to make those split-second decisions, and I have to be okay with the outcome. When I say clean, every action I do has to be with purpose. It has to be deliberate. Every catch has to be a hold. Every push has to go wide of the goal. Every touch has to be within my frame. Every ball has to be deliberate to a player. For me, we're good enough soccer players now that you all can play soccer. And when I say that, there's no more just booting the ball, as they used to say. You don't boot the ball anymore. We don't kick it. When people say, "Oh, you just kicked it," no, that doesn't happen anymore. When I play the ball long, it's got to be with purpose. Am I going behind the back line? Am I putting it into a player to win in the air so they can flick it on? It's got to be, where is the ball going to go after I play the ball? So I'm not only looking at, I'm playing B, I need to know where C is. And that's where I'm playing the ball. If I'm playing the ball into pressure and there's no outcome, should I be playing that ball? Probably not. And so that's when I get to the deliberate piece. I have to know and be deliberate with my actions. A big thing for me is clean catches. I don't know how old you guys are, but I would say if you're under 15 years old, you should probably be taking 100, 150 balls of practice pretty much right in your bubble. And when I say right in your bubble, it means within your wingspan. If I hold my arms out, it's fingertip to fingertip. That's your bubble. If I hold every single ball that's within my bubble, you're going to have a very good year. Because if you think about every game that you've played, right, and say I had 6, 7 shots taken on me, legitimate chances. How many did I have to dive for? 1, maybe 2. Okay, the rest of them are probably right at me, or I have to move. So that means that my feet have to be decent enough to get there, and my hands have to be decent enough to hold the ball so I'm not giving up rebounds or they're not going through me. So if my feet are good enough that I can cover the distance between my fingertip to fingertip, I'm 6 foot, and I can cover probably 3/4 of the goal on my feet. And that makes my job a lot easier as a goalkeeper, because all these other people, the reason I wasn't drafted is because I'm not Peter Cech and 6'6". But I can jump pretty high and I'm pretty quick. And I guarantee you, it doesn't matter how hard you hit something, I'm probably going to hold it if it's within my frame. So we really preach, and me in particular, is I really preach holding everything within your bubble. And if I don't hold it, then that's a missed opportunity because you're either giving up a goal or a rebound that should not be given up. And when I think about how many, just think about it this way. If somebody hits an upper 90 shot, right? Are you expected to save it? No, probably not. Same thing is with a penalty kick. You know, a lot of kids or people are like, oh, how do I save penalty kicks? You're not supposed to save them. Don't worry about it. Okay? Don't worry about saving penalty kicks. Don't worry about saving breakaways. It's cool. It's great. But how many of those are going to happen in a game? I've gone a lot of games where I didn't see a single breakaway and I didn't see a single penalty kick. Okay? Those, it's good to know what you're doing and to train them. Absolutely. But when you're thinking about goalkeeping, it's about knowing your areas on the field. It's about knowing your spots in relation to a shot. If I can get my right spot and I know where my spot is for every shot on the field, if I can get in the right position, you're probably not going to score. That's why the best goalkeepers are old. Tim Howard, still playing when he's 40. Nick Raimondo, just retired, still playing when he's 40. Casey Keller. I mean, you look at, list goes on with American goalkeepers, even international goalkeepers, Iker Casillas. You know, a bunch of guys played because they're not diving around all, but they know where to be. It comes with experience and it comes with the awareness of learning from their mistakes. When was I out of position? You get scored on? Okay, why did I get scored on? It's about learning and not repeating the same mistakes twice. We're fortunate enough at the professional level that every training session's taped, every game's taped from multiple angles, that we can go back and dissect every goal. As a youth player, you don't have that, but you can go back and say, okay, well, what happened? And don't just think about the goal, okay? It's about even before that. What did I communicate in a way to get my defenders in line? And that's a big, actually, now that I said that, that's the big thing with me as well, is communication. Don't talk to talk. A big thing with young goalkeepers is that you're talking to talk. That's all you're doing. And once you say something important, a lot of times your players are just tuning you out because they just heard you for just ramble for a lot of times. When you talk to your defenders and you're actually giving them direction, that's what you want them to hear. And a big thing with communication is being direct and deliberate. So when Peter's my center back and I say, hey, Peter, right shoulder, he knows that there's a guy in his right shoulder and he better know that, okay, I'm responsible for that guy, okay? If our guys have a ball at the other end of the field, I don't need to be telling them to shoot. They know that they should shoot. I mean, that's not my job. My job is to make sure, are we set up in a way that if he loses that ball or she loses that ball, are we set up in a way where it's not going to get to me? Because I learned pretty fast in college after getting a lot of shots taken on me that I would go an entire year without making a save, gladly. If I can talk and communicate and organize in order to not make a save, perfect. I don't need to make saves. And all you guys that want those highlight reel saves, those are great. But your body's going to start hurting when you're 30. I'll tell you that. So communication and organization is huge. If you can organize and get your players where you want to be, your game is going to go a lot better than you thought it would. So communication, clean, deliberate catches. Make sure you're holding everything within your bubble. You're going to save probably 95% of the shots ever taken on you. And then, playing out of the back. When you're talking about playing out of the back, it's not just playing into pressure or passing the ball. It's, like I said, deliberate actions. Am I playing this ball into my center back, or am I playing this ball into my center midfielder, my number 6, checking into me? Do they have an option moving forward? So when we talk about a philosophy of goalkeeping, it's just about, clean, decisive, and deliberate. And your season's going to go a lot better than you thought it would. So, yeah, I think I may have covered everything. Is there anything else, Peter? Or?
No, I think you mentioned most of the things is like there, right? It's like one thing you mentioned, like good on the ball, right? And I think you're like, maybe you have to explain that a little bit better what you mean with good on the ball, right? Because like coaches know what that means, but maybe the players need some more explanation of that.
Okay. Yeah. So when I say good on the ball, it means, for me, it means comfortable on the ball. There's a lot of goalkeepers that you get the ball passed back to them and they panic, right? Does pressure coming at me when I'm with the ball, does that open up, okay, there's people coming towards me. Does that open up somewhere for me to play? Or do I get scared and I kick it away? For me, having somebody press me with the ball opens up somewhere to go, that opens up space, and now we can attack. So being good on the ball and being comfortable on the ball is being able to recognize situations that help your team. So, for instance, we do a lot of things in tight spaces so that our goalkeepers, especially from a young age, so in Kansas City, we stopped giving our kids 12 to 15 everyday goalkeeping because we want them to be good on the ball. We want them to be field players that can save shots. That's pretty much what we want. What I mean by comfortable on the ball. We want you to be able to, if I plug you in as a center midfielder, you'd be fine. And so 3 times a week, they're in there with the team doing possession work. They're doing tactical work with their feet. It's not just about saving shots anymore. There's no longer 10 players with a goalkeeper. There are 11 players on the field. And a lot of times if you watch a pro game, if there's nowhere to go, even if the ball's on the other half of the field, there's nowhere to go, they're going to come all the way back to the goalkeeper to restart the play. And if I don't have an idea of what I'm going to do with that ball, then I'm just taking up space. And so, again, when I say good on the ball, it means, do I want the ball? And I'm not saying, try to meg people or dribble people in the 18. Don't do that, because I know all the coaches on here are going to get mad at me. Don't do that. But when I get the ball back to me, am I comfortable enough with the ball at my feet to pass it out and not, like I said, just kick the ball along? It's to find, where can I get the ball to? No coach is ever expecting you to make the game. And I tell kids this all the time. You're not expected to win the game. You're just expected not to lose the game, right? I mean, we've all heard that. And in order for us not to lose the game, I can't lose the ball. So there's nothing wrong with me getting the ball and just passing it 5 yards to the other center back on the other side of the field. It's recognizing before the ball gets to you, and I'm sure all the coaches have told you guys, look over your shoulder. Well, we can't look over our shoulder because there's nothing behind us, but I'm in the best place in the field. I can see everything. So I don't need to look this way, right? All the center midfielders are looking behind them because they don't know what's there. I know what's there, right? So that makes my job a lot easier. I know where I can go with the next ball. So if we're talking about things that you can do now, maybe it's just recognizing, go out in the backyard or something with your mom or dad or brother or whoever you have at home, and have them pass you the ball and have them put up a colored cone or just some type of visual work so that I have a ball, and then I can also recognize what's in front of me. Those are just random things that you can do. if you're fortunate enough to have maybe mini goals or set up mini goals with cones, have somebody pass you the ball, and then a visual or a verbal cue on where it's going to go next. Your mom or dad passes you the ball, and they tell you number one, and maybe number one is the tree on the other side of your yard. Okay, now I got to get that ball and I got to play it to the tree. Or they tell you maybe you have the tree, the lamp post, and your dad's car. I don't know. And they say, okay, don't kick it to the car or the lamp post. Oh, okay, now I got to kick it to the tree. Certain things like that, and then you can make it a game. Did I hit the tree? Did I miss the tree? Things like that. So it seems silly, but it goes a long way in your abilities, because you start to find out, you're like, oh, this guy told me to go and, knock a ball against a tree. Well, if you can hit a ball, 20 yards and actually hit the tree, then I like your odds about passing it to a player when you get into the actual game.
Okay. I remember one thing when Mitch was 14, where we taught him about penalty kicks. I'm wondering if he still remembers that. Maybe you can say something about that, Mitch?
I do. Yeah, Peter and Doyle had told me this little trick. So I did tell you, penalty kicks aren't a good thing, but here's a little insight on Peter Langens. He told me if a guy, it's the hand thing you're talking about, right?
Yep.
Yeah. If a guy or a girl, in any case, comes up and they shoot a penalty kick and their arm goes out, right? They're probably going to go where? They're going to go across their body, right? Because your arm has to come out in order to come across. If you try to pass the ball, think about if I'm passing it, my arm doesn't go up, it tucks in. So if I'm going with my body, so if I'm a right-footed shooter and I'm going to go to my right, my arm's going to tuck in. If I'm going across my body, my arm's going to come out because my body's swinging. Just kind of a little neat tidbit. Of course, man. 15 years, man. This brain's a lockbox.
All right, Mitch. One of your former, competitors, Mark Haynes from London, is on this call. So he said I should probably show this, and you can maybe take us through the mentality of this shootout. So I think everybody can see what I'm sharing now. This is some little highlights, but I think the penalty kick saves that are in this.
Yeah.
You look a little meaner in this. That's you can see the intensity. That's good. And then when we get to the shootout highlights, if you can maybe take us, I'll kind of let it play. You can kind of take us through that moment, because that's a moment that I know a lot of people through the Midwest. And if you maybe want to kind of share that story, because I think goalkeeping, I always believe it's, like you said, it's a mentality thing. So maybe touch on that.
Yeah. For anybody that doesn't know that game, that was the quarterfinal of the U.S. Open Cup. We beat Columbus the round before, and then so we were playing Chicago at home. We sold out the stadium, 47,000 or something. Big game. It was on ESPN. It was the first ever non-Open Cup final on ESPN. So it was a pretty big moment. And we it was actually we 0-0. I actually played really well that game. I was pretty happy with the actual game. But we went into penalty kicks. And for me, like I said, I've always been kind of decent at penalty kicks. Maybe it was Peter back when I was 13 or what, but
don't give him that credit. He's not that nice to the goalie. Don't give him that credit.
I would have never given him that credit, 15 years ago. Yeah, maybe it was that. But I think I go into it, like you said, with a mentality. And my mentality is, this is going to be fun. I don't feel nerves, when I'm facing a penalty kick, even within a game. I don't get nervous. I welcome it, and I think it's actually I think it's fun because you're not expected to save it. It's the one thing in soccer where if they score, no one's going to blame you. So as a goalkeeper, it's, you know, there's only upside to it. And you got to kind of think about it in that way, because if you get mad that you got scored on a penalty kick, you're going to have a long career, because you're not supposed to save them. I'm sorry to tell you, but so I go into it where I get to absolutely ruin a shooter's day, right? Because they're supposed to score. They think they're going to score. They're stepping up like, okay, I'm going to score. And then somebody saves it. And all of a sudden they just went from a normal shooter to now they may have just lost the game. And so I went into it. We weren't supposed to be there against the Chicago Fire. We were the only non-MLS team left in the competition. So we weren't supposed to be there. We were on ESPN, and we were just having fun. You know, we went into the game and we were just having fun in front of 47,000 people. And we got to that point and just let the chips fall as they may. And I happened to save three out of four. And, you know, the one guy that scores on me has won a World Cup. So I guess I can't be too mad about it. When Bastian Schweinsteiger passes it down the middle, you know, whatever. There's not much you can do. So
yeah. I'm glad that didn't make it in your highlight screen again. I'm just going to let everybody see that one more time, because again, I think it's a great little sequence. Some other nice highlights too, to be fair. But yeah, to put these together in one shootout was.
Yeah, I mean, to save one is good. To save three in the same shootout is pretty unique and pretty cool. You know, so yeah, that was the year before I went to Atlanta. So I don't know, maybe that was the reason that I got signed to an MLS contract. I don't know, but hey, I'll take it. So, but yeah, I think like, you know, I think you mentioned it, is that I had a different, I guess, mentality back then that I do now. I was a lot more serious and a lot more intense with certain things than I am now. And it was good in the moment, but I look back on it and I think I could have enjoyed being a professional soccer player a little bit more than I think I did. And one thing I will tell all the young kids on this call is that you know, enjoy what you're doing. I mean, you hear it, you know, it doesn't last forever, right? You know, I think Mark, you played in London. Yeah, I think I remember that name. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we know that it doesn't last forever, right? But you got to enjoy what you're doing when you're doing it, and it's not about, you don't have to be 100% locked in every single moment of every single day. It's okay to enjoy, you know, when you're on club tournaments, you know, enjoy the travel and things like that. And, you know, but when it's time to get down to the game, obviously, but as goalkeepers, we actually had this talk so we have a Zoom call with all the goalkeepers from Tim Melia, who's our starting MLS goalkeeper, all the way down. And we have talks with them every week. And we had a talk yesterday with one of the groups. And I mentioned that we have the mindset as goalkeepers that we always want to fix something. If we get scored on, right, people point at us. It's our fault. So we get stuck with that mindset from a very early age about, oh, you know, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And then that pressure builds to get to the point where I'm always nervous about making a mistake. Everybody's always worried about making a mistake. The guys that best goalkeepers in the world make mistakes. Don't be worried about making a mistake. It's about knowing don't make a stupid mistake, like don't try to dribble out of the back trying to make people. That's a stupid mistake. But mistakes happen. And it's about learning and not having those duplicate and not having those repeat. And so it's okay to go back and watch your like, you were showing that highlight film. Yeah, I mean, it's cool, man. Like, yeah, I made some cool saves and had some cool moments, and I love watching that. And it's okay to go back and watch stuff like that. You're going to do in your soccer career, you guys are going to do a lot more good than you are bad. So why are we, why do we feel like we need to harp on all the bad stuff? If we can watch a goal, right, and I spend 30 minutes dissecting it and I realize what went wrong, I don't need to think about that anymore. Okay, we fixed it, we moved on. Short-term memory. But when we asked our kids on our call, what do you do in order to alleviate a mistake, or when you're having a bad training session or things, and all these, all of our guys, yeah, they said, okay, I self-talk and I do this stuff. Well, why don't you think about what you did good? Go home and watch your highlight film. Go home and watch that save from 4 years ago that you made, upper 90 save, whatever. It's good, man. Like, don't harp on the bad things. Enjoy the good moments, because I guarantee you, every single person on this call, every single kid on this call is going to have a lot more good in their career than they are bad.
No, that's great. That's great advice. And it kind of ties to this question. So, and a lot of questions are about pressure. So how have you dealt with the pressure of performance, not only from your team, but from coaches, and from fans, I guess, at your level? How have you juggled that, or what, do you have any tricks or tips you can give to kids who are starting to play in front of people or hoping to play in front of people one day?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I didn't handle it like I was mentioning. I didn't handle it nearly as good as I wish I would have. For me, I worked so hard to get to where I was in Cincinnati, and we had, a tremendous fan base. We had more people at our games than the Bengals, and we sold out every single game. So you walk down the field, you walk down the street, and people knew who you were, and it was cool. Like, that's what everybody, you hear about that stuff, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be a pro soccer player. This is what it's about. But then, you get to that, and you work so hard to get there, and you don't want to let everybody down. And you start, like I said, you start harping on all the bad stuff. What can go wrong? What did go wrong? What might go wrong? Rather than enjoying it and just playing the game. Like I said, when I first started this call, we are all here because we enjoy the game of soccer. And that's what makes you good soccer players, because you have passion, because you do it with, everybody says, a love of the game. But that's what makes you good soccer players. And if you can continue that through, your career, it's going to be a lot better. And when it comes to dealing with the pressures and things, it's, for lack of a better term, it's all noise. It's all, for me, the people in my life that were allowed to tell me what I did wrong was my coach, my goalkeeper coach, and my wife, because you guys know that you're married. If you're married, you know that your wife is going to be right all the time. So she's allowed to tell me, what I did wrong. So those people are the people that I listen to, and everything else, everybody's going to have an opinion. I could tell you that Messi is the best player in the world, and you're going to tell me that Ronaldo is the best player in the world. Are either of us right or wrong? Probably not, because there's no way of knowing. If somebody writes in the paper that I had a bad game, I don't need you to tell me that I had a bad game. I know that I had a bad game. Or you're wrong. I didn't have a bad game. I know that I had a good game. So I'm going to move on and I'm going to play the next one. It's about having the confidence in yourself, and that's what's going to get you to that point. And so the confidence in yourself, don't ever lose that, because once somebody takes that from you, it's really tough to get it back. And the thing that's going to get you to that moment where people are going to be analyzing you is all the work by yourself, all the mental talk, and it works down to one thing, is your inner drive. So the best goalkeepers, I'm sure that you guys all know who Brad Guzan is, right? He was on the national team. He played in England for 12 years. Well, I played with him in Atlanta. He's still in Atlanta. And this guy, I wish I would have played with him earlier in my career, because he's probably the biggest jokester I've ever met in my entire life. He doesn't let anything get to him. If he gets scored on, he gets mad for about 5 seconds, and then it's done. There's nothing you can do about it. And he just enjoys playing soccer. He enjoys being there, and he just comes out, does his job every day, and he goes home and enjoys time with his family. Once he leaves the training complex or anything like that, it's done. He doesn't think about it until we get there the next day. There's nothing you can do about it. And the best players, not just goalkeepers, the best players in the world are like that. It's, what am I doing in this time? And if there's a mistake, do I fix it? Or I just move on and do better the next time. I don't let outside factors. I can control my controllables. All you guys have heard that. Control what you can control. I can't control what somebody says about me. I can't control anything outside of saving a soccer ball. And if I save the soccer ball, then I'm doing my job.
Mitch, I'm looking around the screens, and like I said, this is the third talk that we've had with somebody of professional stature, and it's everybody's had a multitude of Zoom meetings. I'll tell you this is the most attentive group of people I've seen. I'd like it to believe that it's because the goalkeepers are the most intelligent and most respectful players usually.
That's what I'm going with.
And I will also say that the questions have been limited, so we have because I think you've been so thorough in the way you describe the mentality of goalkeeping. I will say, I will ask this: when you touched on communication, and you touched on the awareness of the game, do you think it would have, what were you like communicating at a young age? I think that confidence and communication sometimes go hand in hand, but keepers are afraid to be noise. So can you kind of give some? I think that's an area that goalkeepers could always have use improvement in. Could you give some insight into how you work with your young keepers at Sporting KC on communication?
Yeah. I think we've actually, this whole week has been on leadership and communication within our academy, and even up into, we have our young pro guys that sit in on these talks too. We were talking about communication and leadership, and a big point in these calls is, when is it okay to have a go at somebody? And when we say that, when is it okay for me to yell at somebody? When is it for me to maybe get after somebody? Is that okay? And that's our question to them. And some of our kids, maybe it's lack of knowledge or what they've heard with other coaches or whatever it is, but they think that our job is to yell at people, and that's not our job. Our job is to get things fixed according to a time frame, and the time frame is not getting scored on. And what we tell our kids is that if there's certain things that a player is always supposed to do, right? They're supposed to give maximum effort no matter what, and they're supposed to be intellectually deliberate. So they're supposed to have an idea of what they're doing. And if a guy passes a ball and it goes to the other team, and you know, you can tell that he was trying to make the right pass and maybe he mishit it, or he made a mistake, or he didn't see the defender behind somebody. Is that a lack of effort? No. Is that not knowing what you're supposed to do? No. Should I probably yell at that person? Probably not, right? But if somebody loses the ball and they stop and they don't get back on defense and they don't sprint back and we end up getting scored on, lack of effort, he's the one that lost the ball. Yeah, maybe I tell him what I think. Do I do it in a berating, you know, a way where I call him out? No. But, you know, sometimes guys or girls just need some remind that it's a team game, and they just need a little kick in the butt. But when it comes to talking to talk, I'm trying to fix our young kids. And our first team goalkeeper coach, Alec, he made a good point on our call, is that when, you know, like I said earlier, we don't need to tell our forward to take a shot, right? Well, if they lose the ball or they don't take a shot or whatever, and I am screaming and yelling at them, it's the same thing as if they take a shot, sorry, I'll reiterate. If they take a shot and they miss the goal and I yell at him for not scoring, right? As a goalkeeper, if I let in a goal and the forward comes up to me and starts yelling at me because I didn't save the shot, how do I feel, right? Is that the time to do that? We're making the effort, and he's trying to score a goal, so there's no need for me to go at him. And then when we're talking about organization and talking, I learned in college, I wasn't good at it. I was one of those talking to talk. I was always told, you got to be the loudest person on the field. You have to be a person that they don't want to hear you anymore. That's what somebody said to me one time. And in college, during practice, I was given a rule where I could only talk when we do have the ball. Sorry. So a lot of times we're talking and things, and then when the breaks down and when we should already be in our spot defensively, that's when we're trying to get people. We're reactionary rather than we're trying to get people. If the play breaks down, do I have players in the right moments in order so that it doesn't get to me? But how soccer and goalkeepers think at a young age, and even sometimes in the college level, even in the pro game, is that you're trying to organize once it turns over. At that point, you're already late. So in college, I wasn't allowed to talk at all if we didn't have the ball. If we had the ball, then that was my opportunity to, get my right back inside or get my left back inside or push the line up or make sure that my center backs knew where guys were on their shoulders, things like that. And then that way we were already in position so that if that ball turned over, we could kill the play before it even advances.
No, I think that's a really, really good assessment of, being proactive with our communication. And I actually really like that variation. Mitch, I know it's getting late and, I'm so appreciative of your time. So I just kind of want to leave it, is there anything in closing that you'd like to, add, or a closing message for the guys before I let Peter and you wrap it up?
No, I mean, I think hopefully I didn't bore you guys too much. I really do appreciate you guys having me on. And I think that's the one thing about my career that I'm thankful for, is that I can maybe help and give kids an insight into kind of what they're going after, and maybe you guys take something that I said and take it towards your own game, and it helps you get to where you want to be, because I see that now, and all these coaches feel it now, is that they do this to help you, and that's why I'm on this call. That's why I'm a coach now. We have no direct impact on a game once it starts. And that's what I learned already 2 months into coaching. I learned I have zero impact on a game once it starts. And all these coaches do it because, they want to help you and they want you to be successful. So, with Peter reaching out to me, and I've done the same thing, reaching out to people that I know, and you use your circle to kind of get the best out of anything you can. No stone overturned, and all your coaches have a wealth of knowledge. They've played, they've coached, and no question is too dumb, and I mean that in a purely honest way. If you're wrong, then your coach is going to tell you you're wrong, but at least now you know you're wrong, and you can move on, and it's not an issue anymore. It's done. Same thing with getting scored. You get scored on, okay, this is what I do. I don't do it anymore. So just kind of use what you have and just enjoy. And that's my biggest thing. Enjoy playing soccer and enjoy being here, because we're in weird times, and we're all just getting cooped up. So thank you for having me, and I hope that you all got something out of this.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Like what I was saying in the beginning, it's like a lot of times it's like you're getting players or coaches on, and they talk about the field players, right? But I think important is like that we point out like things what's important for our goalkeepers, right? The goalkeeper is the first attacker. There it starts, and with all the rule changes, it becomes more and more important that the goalkeepers are good with their feet, good with their hands, like they need to communicate that stuff, right? Because it's very good to get like your insights about and your experiences in the game, right? That's where like what you said is like as coaches we tell the players over and over, like sometimes like hey, when they hear from people who are played on the highest level, like to hear their stuff, right? That will help a lot of times too, right? That's where they, right? Maybe when you're back in Michigan and when all this stuff is over, maybe you come over to Windsor one night to maybe train the goalkeepers. That would be, I think, really fantastic to see you. On the field again and doing some stuff, right? Is for all for the coaches out here, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. we have a live webinar with the Dutch national U15 coach. Like on our Facebook, is like you can pre-register. Players can go on there too if they want, but it's mainly for the coaches. Right, and like if you have any questions, I have to talk to your goalkeeper coach, right? They can help you most of the time with all the good stuff like they need to know, and like if you have certain questions like for Mitch, like you can like let me know, and then I can maybe pass them on to Mitch, right? There's Mitchell. Thank you very much. Good luck with Kansas City, and I hope to see you somewhere on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate it, and I'll definitely come up to Windsor. I haven't been up there since I've been back in Michigan, so definitely have to make it up there, and we'll do a training session for sure. It'd be my pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Mitch.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.